And we're live. Hola y bienvenidos a una edición especial de Libertarios Hispanos. Esta noche vamos a estar con Gloria Alvarez y con el candidato Spike Cohen. Gloria Alvarez es, para todos los que nos están viendo, este episodio va a ser en inglés. Nos disculpan, el candidato no habla español, habla un poquito, así que voy a empezar con el inglés. Good evening and welcome to everybody to a special edition of Libertarios Hispanos. Tonight we are going to have Gloria Alvarez and Jeremy Spike Cohen. Gloria Alvarez is a Guatemalan radio and TV presenter, author, and libertarian political commentator. She's the host of Viernes de Gloria radio program in Guatemala. She is also the program director of the National Civic Movement of Guatemala, an organization that advocates for political participation in the national politics of Guatemala. She has also published several books on libertarianism and for a popular audience. And as everybody knows, we have Jeremy Spike Cohen, who is the Libertarian Party's 2020 vice presidential nominee, running with Dr. Joe Jorgensen. He promotes a vision of common sense, libertarian solutions that will make us all more free, safe, and prosperous. Welcome, Mr. Cohen.
Thank you, Martha. Thank you for having me on LPTV, on Libertarios Hispanos, and also thank you for having me in beautiful Miami here in Cubaocho.
It is our absolute pleasure, and just to update everybody around us, we actually were going to have a live event, and this was going to be live streamed. And instead, we're doing it a little differently because our event shut down. Would you like to maybe give a little bit of what happened, Mr. Cohen?
Yeah, so basically what happened is that the venue that we were going to be hosting it at, Cubaocho, they were shut down for the flimsiest of reasons. The police came and shut them, and coincidentally, every other venue we were looking at to do this event shut him down because he was in his own restaurant with no one else in there enjoying a drink without a mask on. Again, in his own venue. Seven police cruisers showed up to issue him a citation and shut his business down last night, as well as the other businesses that we were looking at. We actually reached out. In fact, I think it was actually Martha that reached out to the venue, to the police, to find out who issued the complaint, because we had a sneaking suspicion that it was done by one of the competitors who wanted us to go with them instead of the others. And it turns out that they don't have anything on file of any complaints being filed. So there's a very good chance that this was all just a flimsy excuse to shut down any political dissent. We do have the other two Republican candidates in town giving town halls, so it's very possible that the police may have just decided to shut down dissenting opinions. But the good news is we don't wait for permission to do things because we're libertarians. So what we're going to be doing is we're taking our rally, we're taking it to the street right out here in Cubaocho. I'm here on the bus right out in front of Cubaocho. And after we do this live stream, we're going to go out with bullhorns and we're going to have the same event we were going to have. And instead of having it inside, we're going to have it outside. And when we're done with that, we're going to have our salsa party outside too. So we're taking it to the streets. We're going guerrilla with it, and we're going to let the people know that the government cannot take away our ability to peacefully assemble, and that's exactly what we plan to do.
That is absolutely correct. So we do have the entire Miami crew here, and we are going to continue this as planned. So if you're on your way, please keep showing up. And we're definitely going to have a party here tonight, just a little different than we originally thought. We're having a little bit of technical difficulties with Gloria. She will be on shortly, I am sure. We're just connecting via Zoom, and it's a little difficult. I'm sure everybody that has been having to deal with Zoom knows these issues. So please give us a little time. We will fix this issue.
Yeah, just bear with us, and we'll get Gloria on as well. But in the meantime, we can talk about. I guess we can talk about what we're planning on doing here, and I guess what our protest is going to look like, or what our rally is going to look like now that it's effectively an outdoor protest.
Yes. So, like I said, we're going to continue having it here. We are. I just want to point out that I'm not sure that in this case it was the police. I actually just got off the phone a few minutes ago with the chief of police for the city of Miami, and he does not have the authority to open the establishment back up. And although we are libertarian and we do love a civil disobedience, the owner has already been fined and will continue to be fined. So, we are being conscious of that, and we do not want to cause problems. So we're going to do it outside for now, but the chief of police did say that they have no control. Unfortunately, it seems to be the city manager of Miami is doing. So hopefully if he watches this. We do have some press coming to also. So this keep your eyes peeled. This isn't going to end right here with this podcast. We're going to keep having live streams after this, and we will continue to post on what is going on.
Absolutely. Yeah, and this speaks to what we've been dealing with across the country. While our opponents are hiding in their bunkers and basements, while the American people are increasingly taking it to the streets to let the world know about their displeasure with the abuses and excesses that are coming from this out of control Republican government, when we do go out into the streets, we are often told that we can't do that. When we try to peacefully assemble in homes and in businesses, government often comes and says, you can't do that. You're not allowed to do that. It's a blatant violation of our First Amendment right. It's a blatant violation of our natural rights to peacefully assemble, our right to freedom of speech. It's a blatant violation, and that's why we're not going to take it lying down. We're not simply going to say okay. We're going to go out to the streets, and we're going to let everyone here know, including the police, including that city manager. Hopefully he lives nearby, because I'm pretty good with a bullhorn, and they're gonna know that they can't shut down the voice of the people. We are seeing an America where the cost of living is spiraling out of control. We're seeing in America where an increasing number of Americans don't know how they're going to be able to afford healthcare, to be able to afford higher education, to be able to afford housing, to be able to afford the things that they need. They're watching as we are in the worst recession that any of us has ever experienced in our lives, while at the same time stock prices are at or above all-time highs, because the government took trillions of dollars from us and handed it to multi-billion-dollar multinational corporations and stuck us with the bill for it. That's a bill we'll be having to pay off for 40 years with interest. We have seen time and time again how things like this pandemic, which was imposed upon us because the FDA and the CDC didn't allow medical professionals to test COVID patients, which led it to be able to spiral out of control, and for the spread to be able to spread without any ability to contain it or even track how it was happening. And then when that happened, when the government utterly failed us and didn't allow healthcare workers to do their jobs and save lives, they tried to shift the blame to you. They told you it was your fault. They said it was your fault for wanting to live your life. It was your fault for wanting to go outside. It was your fault for wanting to work or to run your small business, to feed your family, like the owner of Cubaocho is going through right now. They were told it was your fault for wanting to go to your house of worship. We've seen people get arrested for having church outside in their cars because they weren't allowed to do that. We've seen people get arrested for going to visit their loved ones. We've seen people getting arrested and being fined for trying to have Alcoholics Anonymous meetings or have counseling for their addiction or for their depression or other issues. We've seen people who are unable to go to hospitals and get cancer screenings because the government's made it illegal for hospitals to do anything but treat COVID patients in some states. We have seen government impose itself on the people and cause massive human suffering. And not to mention we don't know how many hundreds of thousands of lives will be saved as a result, or could have been saved as a result of being able to contain this. And the American people are sick and tired of it. That's why we're taking to the streets.
That is absolutely correct. And touching on what you spoke about, the owner of Cubaocho, Roberto, earlier today was telling me how he came to this country in the Mariel boat lift back in the early 80s.
Yeah.
And opened up this location and has been working really hard for it and has had 7 months of closure. And tonight was going to be his first night of opening up. So it's especially hard for a lot of of people. And welcome, Gloria. Can she hear us? Hola, Gloria, ¿nos escuchas? Maybe not.
And I think Gloria still can't hear us. So you were saying Roberto. So he came here. You said his name was Roberto?
Yes, Roberto. He came to this country. He's Cuban. He opened up a museum and bar here in this location before. So Miami's had a transformation in recent years. This area, Little Havana, is coming to life, and he was a big part of this location and having that. So, hola, Gloria, ¿nos escuchas? Can you hear us?
We can hear.
Can you hear me? Because I can't hear Marta nor Spike, and I can't see them either.
Oh, we can hear her.
We can hear her just fine.
Yeah, we can hear her just fine. So while Gloria's figuring that out, it is very interesting that Roberto, how ironic that Roberto comes here from Cuba.
Okay, so let me try something. I'm going to have another phone where I can hear Spike and Marta talk, because I cannot hear you from this live stream connection. So there's going to be a little bit of delay. But
Okay, it's live. This is what happens, guys.
Yeah, welcome to live television. Yeah, no, everyone can hear Gloria. Unfortunately, Gloria is not able to hear us, so she'll be able to tune in. But you look at the irony of people that have come to the U.S. to escape tyranny, and now they're suffering that similar tyranny here. You have someone who came here to take part in the American dream, to be able to feed their families, to be able to grow their community, and to just walking through Cubaocho and seeing the amazing culture that has grown here out of the ashes of people trying to escape tyranny from other countries, and you see it get shut down by a increasingly overbearing government that doesn't allow them just to live their lives. That's why we're here. We are here to highlight the struggle of people around this country who are just trying to live their lives, and in some cases they are being outright banned from being able to do it. In other cases, it's just being made prohibitively expensive for them to be able to do it. And it needs to end. And it ends with kicking these Republicrats and their cronies out of office and taking all the power and freedom and wealth that's been stolen from the American people and putting it back in your hands where it always belonged. That's what a vote for Joe Jorgensen is. That's what a vote for Libertarians is. It is a vote for true power back to the people where it always belonged.
That is absolutely correct. Gloria, let's give us another try. Can you hear us? Gloria, ¿nos escuchas?
I think she's setting up another phone where she'll be able to hear us on that, I believe.
Yes, I can hear you now.
Yes.
Sí, te escucho súper bien.
Chévere. Bienvenido, Gloria.
Yeah, I have actually two cell phones because I cannot hear you during the live stream. And I don't know if you can hear me well, but
Perfect.
We hear you perfectly. We heard you perfectly the whole time.
Ahí está.
Y estamos en vivo, Gloria.
What I have is a little bit of delay. Let me see. See? Gracias, Marta. Bueno, saludos a todas las personas que nos están escuchando de todas partes de América Latina. Estamos intentando hacer este live con el Partido Libertario de Estados Unidos desde Miami. Interesante todo lo que Marta contaba y Spike también. I'm going to switch to English now. I think it's very valuable what the Libertarian Party is doing, and I don't think it's only the thing of the horse race about winning. Because in Latin America, we have experience of people always voting for the winning horse, and it doesn't matter if the winning horse has the best of ideas or the best of the interests. And it is actually very sad that in Latin America, in so many countries, mediocrity and conformity and going with the winning horse has brought us so much misery, and that's why the Latin American community in the United States has grown, because a lot of people from different countries, Venezuela, Cuba, Nicaragua, Guatemala, Mexico, everywhere, go to the United States to try to find a better future for what they did back home by voting, as we call it in Spanish, por el menos peor, for the lesser of the two evils, right? So why is it that in politics we all always have to decide in between cancer and HIV? Why is it that people think, well, I don't like the Republicans, I don't like the Democrats, I don't like the right wing, I don't like the left wing, but those are the only two choices? That's not true anymore. And now in the United States, as well as in many countries all over Latin America, there is the possibility of voting for libertarian ideas. So first of all, I want to say to Marta and Spike, thank you for what you're doing. I think it's really valuable. And I think that the Hispanic community, both living in the United States and also benefiting here in Latin America from the policies of the United States, deserve to know that there's a third and valid option, and that you are not condemned in between voting for socialism, which is what the Democrats are proposing, and this obsolete, conservative, and mercantilist system that the Republican Party has also put it in place. So I would like both Marta and Spike to talk a little bit about what can the Libertarian Party offer to the Hispanic community that they're not going to find either in the Republican or the Democrat Party. Bear in mind that this might be the first time and the first opportunity that a Hispanic community listens that there is such a thing as a libertarian option for the United States, and that it's going big, and it's getting even better.
Absolutely. And Gloria, thank you for coming on. I agree 100% with everything you just said. You know, we are told that we're supposed to vote for, as you called it, the lesser evil. And yet we keep voting for lesser evils, but keep getting more and more evil. So clearly that strategy has not worked. As you said, a very similar thing in the US as in apparently in Latin America as well. The idea that you have to vote for one of the two sides that is the most likely to win. Well, if you lose as a result of that, if your interests lose as a result of that, if your communities lose as a result of that, if the power is stolen from you and your money is stolen from you and your ability to make choices for yourself and your loved ones and your communities is stolen from you in the process, then what did you win? Clearly you didn't win anything. The only people who won are the cynical liars who lied to get your vote and pandered to you to get your vote. I think that what we have to offer, specifically the Hispanic community in the U.S., is I talked to Latino people across this country, and what I've heard over and over again, most of them are either themselves immigrants to this country, or first or second generation to whoever immigrated to this country. So it is very fresh in their minds what they fled when they came here, or what their parents or grandparents fled when they came here. And for them to see that same inclination towards greater government control of their lives, to see that kind of creeping forward here in the US, not just from one party or the other, but from both of the major parties, often working together to grow this government, to grow what we in the Libertarian Party call the cult of the omnipotent state, the idea that government should have control of every aspect of your life, and that you basically are a subject to that government. It is horrifying to them in a way that is especially horrifying to someone who themselves or maybe their parents fled that exact thing happening much further along the line. So we are able to offer them an understanding of what they have come from, and a clear and viable path towards dismantling those same plans happening here, and dismantling these oppressive and tyrannical structures, and taking that power and wealth and freedom that was stolen from them, that has been stolen from the American people, that was stolen from them in their home countries, and make sure it doesn't happen here, and put that power and that wealth and that freedom back in their hands where it always belonged. And that message so far has resonated very well with all the communities that we have spoken with. Today, Gloria, I'm not sure if you know, but the location where we were supposed to have the rally today in Cubaocho in Little Havana in Cuba, Cubaocho, the police shut it down. They shut it down possibly because they didn't want to hear dissenting opinions, but for whatever reason they shut it down. They have shut this business down for over 7 months now. This Roberto, who owns this company, who owns Cubaocho, is unable to be able to provide for his family because government simply will not allow him to open his doors. And so we are actually doing a protest right here in the streets with bullhorns to let the public know, to let the people who live here in Little Havana know that they don't have to live this way, that they don't have to live under Republican and Democrat rule. They don't have to live under a government that presumes the authority to tell them whether or not they're essential, whether or not they should be allowed to live, whether or not they should be allowed to provide for the families and loved ones. That is what the Libertarian Party offers. Not just a lesser of three evils, not just a third party to vote for, but an actual viable difference, giving them their power back and dismantling these terrible oppressive structures that are making their lives increasingly hard and increasingly difficult.
That is absolutely correct, Spike. And I just saw somebody come on and say that this is exactly what we Hispanics that have come to the United States. My family is Cuban, and they definitely left the island to come here in search of this freedom. And when I lived in Venezuela, and I think Gloria might agree with me, that in Latin America, we look to the United States and we say, hey, that this cronyism, this just the way government works doesn't happen in the United States. And I think we were speaking about it earlier, where we often assume that in the United States, since we go to Latin America and we tell them how to hold elections and how to do things, we expect the United States to be different. And this is a clear view that that's not the case, that here government is involved, and they do these things that are not good for business. And so the Latin community, people such as myself, we do come here for freedom. And then we find that the U.S. government now is trying to shut down these businesses and trying to do these things that are not helpful to anyone. And so, Gloria? Trying to do these things that are not helpful to anyone. And so, Gloria?
Thank you, Marta and Spike. And let me tell you guys, congratulations. Because in the moment that you are getting banned and harassed and shut down and canceled and attacked, it means that you are doing something that is important and that is scary for the establishment. When you are really not a threat, and I mean a threat for that status quo of cronyism, of corruption, of mercantilism, of that despise both to real, true free markets and also the civil liberties that every individual is entitled to, when you are actually not causing any noise or any damage to the status quo, they simply don't pay attention to you. And I would love to be right now in Cubaocho in Miami, protesting with you guys and being part of that and making lives and make some noise for people to know that finally there has come a point where the Libertarian Party is getting so much attention because people have been fed up with both the Republican and the Democrat lies, and they have been fooled and misled into thinking that there are only two ways of thinking. And regarding the Hispanic community, it has been quite convenient for the Latinos, first of all, to go with the Republican side, which, sometimes is coherent with the religious, conservative, homophobic, machista, traditional backgrounds that are also part of Latin America. And so they like some of the Republican Party ideas until the Republicans are not as friendly with the immigrants. Then is when the Hispanic community says, wait a minute, maybe I don't like the Republicans that much. And then they turn on a side and go to the Democrats, who also have this discourse that sounds familiar because it's socialism. It's like the socialism back home from Hugo Chavez, from AMLO, from Daniel Ortega, from Michelle Bachelet, the Kirchners, Lula da Silva, all of the free stuff and the welfare, and that you are not responsible for your life. So the Hispanic community, in both senses, has been attracted to both parties, but then when it reminds them of the dictatorships that they fled from, or from the rejection of elitist Republicans who don't want to have more immigration, then they don't know what to do. And this is where the Libertarian Party enters, and I think has something fresh to offer, both to the Latino community, the more than 60 million Latinos living in the United States that are sending money back home and supporting a lot of families, but also to Latin Americans who want to build richer countries and better countries here, because someone needs to stay to rebuild Venezuela, to rebuild Argentina, to rebuild Guatemala, Mexico, and all the countries that have been completely destroyed by cronyism and corruption. So for the people who are staying back in Latin America, and also for the Hispanic community living in the United States, can you please tell us a top 5 important messages and proposals that the Libertarian Party has that neither the Republicans or the Democrats are gonna offer them?
Absolutely. So number one, we need to end this system of cronyism, which feeds into the welfare state. Because I have talked to people in housing projects, I've talked to people in poor communities, I've talked to people of all different walks of life, and here's what I heard. I heard that government made them unable to be able to climb up the economic ladder. They removed all the rungs from the ladder so that they had to stay in the social safety net. They put in things like occupational licensing laws. They put things in place like zoning laws that make it illegal for them to do business in their own home. They put in place ridiculous taxes and mandates and fees that drive up the cost of living, so much so that if they want to start a business, they already have to have $50,000 or even $100,000 to be able to start that business legally. Well, if you don't have $50,000 to $100,000, you can't start your business legally. So you may have a little bit of a side hustle, we call it in the States, basically an illegal small business that should be completely legal, something like mowing lawns or doing hair or doing food service or something like that, but they're not able to grow it into something that they can actually live off of. One thing we believe as libertarians is what government does to people is it breaks people's legs, it steals their wallet, it uses a little bit of that money to buy them some crutches, and then says, hey, look, if it wasn't for us, you wouldn't have those crutches. No, if it wasn't for them, you wouldn't have needed those crutches in the first place. And we believe that the best way to deal with the welfare social safety net is to put the ladders back so people can climb out of it. Get rid of those absurd regulations, get rid of those absurd occupational licensing laws and zoning laws and taxes and mandates and fees and other absurd regulatory burdens that drive up the cost of doing business, so that entrepreneurialism can flourish, so that the cronies actually have to compete with smaller, more innovative and better competitors, so that we actually have a system and an economy that benefits people who want to actually be able to strive and not just the most wealthy among us. The next thing is to look at the things that government has driven up the cost of: healthcare, public higher education, housing, things that we need every day in our lives. Get rid of those absurd regulations and taxes and other regulatory burdens that have driven up the cost of healthcare, that have driven up the cost of housing, that have driven up the cost of higher education. Get government out of it. Get these cronies out of it, so that we can have an actual price equilibrium, so that those providers can only charge what the people can afford. The next thing is we have to have a foreign policy that is based on peace. We have had an aggressive foreign policy that has destabilized entire regions of the world and has given rise to dictators who act as the opponents of our foreign, our aggressive foreign policy stance. Perfect example is like Iran. Iran had a democratically elected government and was largely at peace until the U.S. decided that they wanted the Shah back in power because he was more friendly to U.S. military interests. And so the U.S. Intelligence services and U.S. military overthrew a democratically elected government, imposed the Shah, which led to the Iranian Revolution. So now they live under the mullahs. They live under an incredibly abusive regime because they were the only people that fought back against U.S. aggression. We've seen how U.S. Military posture overseas has led to the creation and great recruitment tool for terrorist groups around the world. This has made us less safe, This has made us and people around the world less safe and less free. It has cost an absolute fortune. It has cost the lives of tens of thousands of Americans, not to mention the countless people that have died and suffered overseas as a result of our actions. The next thing that we need to do is have sound money. Our money is monopoly money. The world's central banks are using monopoly money that they print out at will and hand to their favorite cronies, while the rest of us are forced to pay the bill for that. We need to end that system and have actual sound free market money. These are the types of things that happen when you put people in charge, libertarians who understand that the way to move forward is to put the power back in the hands of the people where it always belonged. Dismantle these ridiculous, centrally planned, arbitrarily defined, and crony-friendly policies that necessarily make our lives difficult in order to benefit the cronies who put them in office, and to eventually make us so reliant on them that we eventually give up and just let them take total control. End all of that. Put the power back in your hands. Give you your money back that was stolen from you so that you can thrive and prosper the way you were intended to. Give you your money back that was stolen from you so that you can thrive and prosper the way you were intended.
Marta, I don't know if you want to add something to that.
Marta, you're still muted.
Sorry. Go ahead, Gloria, please.
I couldn't.
Marta, you're still muted.
Sorry. Go ahead, Gloria, please.
Okay, so we have just a few minutes, and I just want to go back to something. Whenever a Latino risks his life moving to the United States because he's escaping a past of poverty, corruption, misery, and destruction, both brought by mercantilist oligarch elites who despise free markets because it goes against their monopolies, as well as civil liberties that the LGBT community and women and minorities are fighting for, not to get welfare state, but just to get government out of the way.
Yes.
Whenever a Latino is escaping from socialism of the 21st century, unfortunately, and arrives in the United States, unfortunately, they don't say, finally, I am in the land of the free and the home of the brave, where the government is limited, where free markets are possible, where life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness are respected. If all the Hispanics who escape from these horrible scenarios from Latin America would move to the United States and understand the basis on how the United States was founded, they would also understand that both the Democrat Party and the Republican Party have spitted on the project that the founding fathers originally presented, which was a limited government with absolute free markets, and where individuals were owners of their own lives, with no safety net, with no welfare state, no Federal Reserve to print money that has no backup whatsoever.
That's
so
right.
If people would actually understand how the United States was founded, they will come up to the conclusion that it is the Libertarian Party, the one that is most congruent and most coherent to the project that made the framework for one of the most prosperous nations in the whole planet. It was because of free markets and limited government. But those two ideas have been betrayed by both the Republican Party and the Democrat Party, increasing the government controls and regulations, and making it possible in 2020 for the Libertarian Party to go back to basics, but with a modernized view for the 21st century. So I want to leave you on this on these last minutes for you guys to explain that the success of the United States has much more to do with the ideas that you are fighting to take back to the White House than the ones that have been implemented in the past century and so.
Absolutely, Gloria, and that's the problem, is that the people who have been in power had a vested interest in taking the power from the people. They saw a limited government. They saw a framework that was based upon respecting the individual rights and lives and property of the people that under their presumed jurisdiction. And they said, no, 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 this isn't going to benefit us at all. We want to get rich on the backs of the people, and we want to get our cronies who help put us in office, get them rich and have them, as you know, have their power and their wealth entrenched as much as possible as well. And that has led to the system that we have. We see what happens when people come here now from other countries, especially from Latin America. When they come here, they're presented with two main voices. One voice often tells them that they need to be deported. The other voice says, no, we welcome you and we're going to give you free stuff. And that is the good cop, bad cop that they get when they get here. What we want to present is an option of saying, we want you to come here. We want it to be easy for you to come here legally. We want you to be able to come here without any fear of being removed or any fear of persecution, and be able to take part in an experiment that is based on allowing you to thrive and removing the barriers and burdens that would be put in your way to be able to allow you to thrive, and for you to be able to take that experiment back to your countries as well eventually if you want to. Or to stay here and to take part in that experiment here. My own family, I am on my father's side the descendant of people who came here to flee the pogroms, to flee genocide. And when they came here, they were asked to give their names, their country of origin, they were checked for diseases, and then they were allowed to live here and take part in the experiment. And I believe that we should return to that same Ellis Island system for people coming from around the world, people from Latin America, people from Hong Kong, people coming from Eastern Europe, people coming from around the world escaping tyranny. Why would we subject people who are escaping tyranny to tyranny here? Why would we subject people who live here to tyranny? Why would we allow that to continue? The Libertarian Party represents a clean break from that idea. We have seen how they do it, and now it's time to do it our way. This election is far too important to keep voting for the people and the parties and the ideas, as Gloria said, that put us in the mess that we're in. We are in this mess because of people who have presumed the authority to control every single aspect of your life. What you can do, what you cannot do, whether or not you are essential, whether or not you should be allowed to live your life, how much you should have to pay for every single thing that you need, and whether or not you should be allowed to be able to thrive. And that has failed us. That has led to what we have now. That has led to the police brutality. That has led to the lockdowns. That has led to the spiraling out of control of the cost of living. That has led to the student debt bubble. That has led to a nearly $30 trillion national debt. That has led to all of this. It has been built on lies, false promises, and a system of sycophantic control, and it needs to end. And it ends by voting Libertarian. Gloria, you're still muted.
And the world. If you are gay, you are not condemned to be socialist. There is not only the alternative of being Democrat. And if you are pro-free market, you are not condemned to be racist, homophobic, or religious. There is a third alternative, and that is the libertarian ideas, who just have this simple message: you know best what is good for your life. Government needs to be limited. Markets need to be free. That is the true humanity. That is the true equality. When we start seeing each other as equal, regardless of gender, color, equal also to trade, equal also to move, to do with our lives whatever we consider best, as long as we don't harm the rest. And if we understand that under the three individual rights, which are life, liberty, and private property, then we can go back to what made the United States one of the greatest countries in the world. Because make no mistake, this is not a guarantee. This can be lost. The United States was a miracle, which for the first time in 1776, they put on paper that the government was to serve the people, not the people to be servitude of the government, as it was back in Europe and as it has always been in Latin America. And this miracle can only be sustained by the right ideas, and those are the ideas that the Libertarian Party is putting. I really hope, Spike, that your message gets more diffusion among the 60 million Hispanics who live in the United States and who still don't know about this third alternative, but also by the more than 500 million Latin Americans who have deep concerns of what's going on between the United States and the relationships with our countries here, because we need progress, we need wealth, we need sound money, we need liberty. And you are not condemned to have two parties that chop your liberty, one in the economic aspects and the other one in your individual civil liberties aspects. I hope that we have another opportunity to talk. Good luck in Miami. It was an absolute pleasure talking with you, Spike, and I hope that this live gets shared and liked and commented and spread all over Latin America.
Thank you, Gloria, and thank you so much for being a part of this, and thank you for being very patient as we figured out the technical issues that were going on. You are an amazing voice for liberty, and I am honored to be sharing a venue with you in this. Thank you so much for everything you are doing. I agree. It is time for people around the world, including the Latino community around the world, to hear a message of liberty. They, in a unique way, are experiencing, you are in a unique way, are experiencing what creeping totalitarianism can look like, not just here in the States, but around the Latin American world, and it needs to end. And it ends with libertarian ideas. And thank you for your time. And Marta, thank you as well for hosting this and for putting all this together.
Thank you both so much for being here. Thank you both for your time. Gloria, it's an honor, honestly, to have you here as well. Thank you, Spike. I hope everybody listening, todos los Latinos, that are listening, I hope that you take their message to heart. I hope that you listen and open your heart to this message that we're sending, which is that you are free. You can be free. We don't need the government to tell us how to live. We don't need a daddy government. And we are going to be in Miami for a while now. So we hope that this ends very well. And Spike is going to be speaking to the crowd shortly. And it's going to be a great evening. So again, if you're in Miami, come down. And if not, please request that the news covers what's going on here. Like and share, like Gloria said. And thank you all again. Muchísimas gracias a todos por estar con nosotros. Muchísimas gracias por compartir este video con todos sus amigos, sus compañeros. Y bueno, buenas noches. Thank you, guys.